Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to get started on your project. Okay, so we're going to get started on our project paper here. So this is the 12 by 18 sheet of paper. And what I want to do is first mark off which is for the sake of it's going to put in the center of the paper. So we're going to measure where the center of our paper is. So we're going to place our ruler down. Our paper should be 12 inches. Okay, so if we do half of 12, that would be 6. So we're going to put a tick mark on 6 on the right side. And a good measure, making sure our line's nice and parallel and perpendicular to our picture plane. We're going to do it on both sides. So that way we can go place our ruler down on those tick marks and make sure that the line we draw is perfectly centered. Right? So there's our horizon line. So now we need our vanishing point. So we're gonna again put our ruler down on that line. Again, if we're measuring from where the ruler starts measuring, paper should be 18 inches. Half of 18 is 9. This is our vanishing point. So for this project, we're going to be stacking cubes. I kind of like to think of them as like shipping containers. Is probably like the easiest way to think about it. So we're going to start off with one on our horizon line here. And it's super important that when we're drawing these that our ruler is always going to be parallel to the top and bottom of our paper and perpendicular to the left and right of our paper. Okay, so always perpendicular and parallel to our picture plane, which is the outside lines of our paper. So I'm going to line my ruler up and start drawing a cube, rectangular prism, a rectangle to start. So I'm just going to do maybe a 5-inch line to start. And then I'm going to go through my horizon line. Once again, I need to make sure this ruler is parallel to this line. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this corner right here is as close to 90 degrees as possible. Do about 3 inches. And then line that ruler up again, making sure it's nice and parallel to 5 inches again. And then should just be able to line up these 2 points. And these should be 3 inches. Okay. So there's our start to our cube. What I can do right now is go ahead and erase my horizon line that goes through the front of the square. Okay. So this one's starting on our horizon line. The next thing we're going to do is start creating our edges or our top and bottom corners. So I'm going to line up when I know it's on the horizon line. I only have these 2 points to worry about. Line up that top point to the So we're going to line up our ruler to that vanishing point and draw that top line. And then draw our bottom line. Remember, you don't have to draw all the way to the vanishing point if you know you only want your side to be too long. Line our ruler up. You can line it up on the line there and then just push back, keeping that space the same, and then draw a line connecting those two. Erase any extra you have, and once again erase your horizon line that goes through the cube. Okay, so there's our first cube, and we're going to stack some above and some below. Okay. So while I'm doing this, well, I'll tell you guys like what size I'm putting mine on. Try not to follow to a T what dimensions I'm doing. So if I say I'm going to do a 5 by 3 inch, maybe do a 3 by 2.5, or maybe do a 7 by 3.5. Try and switch it up a little bit just so we're all kind of doing something different and it doesn't all look the same. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stack a cube on top of this one that looks like it was kind of like stacked behind it a little bit or offset behind it. So the way to do that is to line our ruler up a little bit overlapping onto this first one. And I also want mine to kind of stick out this way a little bit. So I'm gonna draw about 4.5 inches of a line. And then I'm gonna turn it this way. And I kind of want it to take up some space up here. So I'm gonna do 3.5. Making sure my ruler is parallel. So 3.5. And then I'll go back over again. 4.5. And then I should be able to line up my ruler to these 2 points. Okay, and now anything that's overlapping onto this cube, we won't really be able to see, but it's sometimes helpful to draw your 3 corner lines going back to your vanishing point before I erase anything that's overlapping. So I'm gonna start by lining my vanishing point up to that top corner. Just only gonna draw it so far. And then this bottom corner. And then once again, sometimes it's just helpful to see even if we're not going to have it always. Okay. So what I can do now is define my sides and my bottom. Line my ruler up on the side here. Push my ruler back. Keeping this line and this line parallel to each other. And then this is why it's important sometimes to have that line there, but for our bottom part, line your ruler up, push back until that point. And then I'm just going to shoot across until I bump into this one, because I could draw all the way there, but I'm going to erase it anyway, so there's no point. So I'm going to erase all my extra converging lines that are going back and erase anything that is overlapping into my first cube that I drew, because it's offset behind it. So we cannot see it. Okay, so kind of imagine, once again, these are kind of shipping containers. I got one on the ground right here, and then one stacked, but it's kind of like behind it a little bit. You can see it kind of comes off that end too. All right, we're gonna do one below now. And this one I'm gonna just stack perfectly right underneath this one. So I'll line my ruler up just perfectly on that line, and maybe I'll do 4 inches. So I kind of made it a little bit darker so I can see where my 4 inches starts. This one I'm going to make a little bit skinnier because I still have one more cube I want to draw on this side. So I'm going to do 2 inches. Line my ruler up. Line is a little crooked, but it's okay. So now, once again, I do have this corner when it's below the horizon line. I know I'm going to have my closest 3 corners, but this one's going to go straight through this. So we might not need it. So let's draw your first 2 corners. Always double check that you're actually lined up to the vanishing point, okay? So let's say I'm gonna end my cube right here. I'd shoot across this line, of course. I just need to make sure I'm lining my ruler up, but it's nice and parallel to the top. Okay, and then I just only need to draw until I bump into that one. So I don't really need to see, like, if it was imaginary and we could actually see through it, this is kind of what that back corner would be back there. Erase any extra converging lines. Okay, so there's 3. I have 1 more to draw under here. This one I'm going to draw a little small, and I'm going to leave some space in between. So I'm going to put a little gap. So I'm going to make this one 3 inches. Let's see. I'm going to do this one as 2 inches too, because I want to leave somewhat of a border there, but I don't want it to be too big. So I'm going to do 2 by 3. Okay, so for this one, I know that it's kind of going to be going through here, so when I draw my converging lines, I'm only going to draw them until I bump into that shape. So I'm going to line up my points, and then they run right into that. If I wanted to end this, I still could. I can line my ruler up here and draw there. And then I really, if I had to do that, I'd want to make sure I had this line to know where that stopped to shoot over this way. But I like the look of it a little bit longer, so I'm not going to worry about any of that. And I'll just let it go on for that long. Okay. So we did these 4 together, obviously. Hopefully yours looks a little bit different, so all of us don't look exactly the same. But it's your turn to draw the rest of your 4 on this side. They shouldn't look exactly the same. They shouldn't follow the exact same dimensions as you did for these ones. Maybe you stack 2 above and 1 below over here. But it's always easiest to kind of at least start with the one that's on the horizon line.